I need to go just before it starts running. I had that thing that I needed to get it dropped.
What's up YouTube? In this video I will go over how to instant spark and why it's particularly important to understand what inputs and buffers to utilize in different situations. Going to try to keep this as short as I can. First, I will give you the inputs for how to instant spark and then go into the nuances after. If you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and be sure to check out my Twitch streams. The inputs for instant spark are simple. Keep in mind, air sparking has different rules than ground sparking. Not that different, but different nonetheless. To instant spark on the ground, you will need a trigger. To instant spark in the air, you need a trigger and also be in a neutral falling animation, like aiming, shooting, or just falling. Now, you have triggers and you have actions as classifications. Triggers are basically what allows you to use only direction and B instead of direction and YB, for example. Triggers include melee, aim, spark storing, and shooting as triggers for what allows you to instant spark. Shoot being the most inconsistent and objectively worst ground trigger to use. Basically, you do one of these, then flick direction and B, and then you will instant spark. Reason B specifically is because YB is utilizing shoot as a trigger macro, so to speak. Keep in mind, you can also use aim plus B as a macro too. Actions are any movement option you use to help buffer a trigger. YB in particular has a small window for activation without buffering, causing inconsistent sparks. So using actions will help alleviate this. Actions include sliding, spin jumping, flashing, grapple, I believe, wall jumps, and neutral falling. Keep in mind, Morph Ball can not instant spark. It can spark, but it has to be on the ground. It cannot aerial spark. Melee can also be considered an action as well as a trigger. It has a very large buffer window for instant spark. Particularly lunging melee is useful. Those are the inputs for instant spark. For those of you who want the nuances, keep watching. The importance of knowing when to use B versus YB is important to advance your speed tech, as well as to know what to use, what triggers with what actions in a situation. Generally, try to use B on the ground and YB in the air. YB tends to do some weird things on the ground for some reason. If you want instant spark off storing, you can store and immediately direction plus B. You can only pick either up or diagonals off store though. You will need another trigger to go horizontal. Triggers will also cause different heights off spark. If you do aim as trigger, you will actually hop up and spark. If you wanted a more grounded spark, you melee. If you are fighting the Quiet Robo, the first Robo Chozo you fight, I believe, you actually want to not melee spark for the quick kill, but instead aim spark. Or at least try not to melee if you see his parry, as if you accidentally parry him, your spark becomes worthless and does 0 damage, losing you time and losing your spark. Not to mention, aim spark is actually faster than melee. Melee is a good beginner tool to get used to instant sparking, but ultimately still slower than learning how to utilize movements directly into instant sparks. Think about it. If you have a race with an identical run, and you melee before every instant spark versus someone who doesn't, there are actually a lot of points in a route where you would want to instant spark depending on the route. You will always lose by the amount of melee is done. It is not much time lost, but it's time lost nonetheless. Not to mention, various movement choices during the run also matter to what triggers used. If you are in water, spin jump would be your fastest movement. If you are in need of a large horizontal distance, you want a flash shift. If you're in need of a short amount of horizontal distance, lunging melee, depending on how short. If you need to slide, well, slide, like in Ice Emmy Arena, falling, grapple, wall jump, and generally just jumping for height control. All these things put together make a fairly straightforward speed tech into a more complex and rewarding movement to perfect. And I didn't even get into speed keep, which is just as important, but that's for a different video. I hope this helped you get into more advanced speed tech. If you are interested in running Dread, be sure to join the Discord, it's in the description. Thanks for watching.